Presidential address, it's an important moment in the year of the EACTS. This continues to be a difficult time for humanity. Our thoughts go to the victims of COVID-19 and their families, but also to the healthcare workers who gave their lives to save others. So let's just have a few moments of silence thinking of those victims.
Thank you, Domenico. Members and guests, it's a great honor to introduce.
Thank you. So the presidential address is usually introduced by a special person in the life of the president. And this time around, we also have a friend of the EACTS, and it's Dr. Gotza Patterson from Cleveland, Ohio, who was a mentor and a personal friend of the president. After that, we'll have the presidential address, and then I'll come back and give the awards to our young investigators. Let's enjoy the introduction and the presidential address. Thank you.
Thank you, Domenico. Members and guests, it's a great honor to introduce to you our President, Peter Licht. It is no surprise to me that Peter has risen to the top of this organization, the European Association for Cardiothoracic Surgery, and I will try to explain to you why. Peter has clarity of a purpose. When I first met Peter, it didn't take me long to realize that Peter was special. He had both feet on the ground. He was ambitious, courageous, and had a lot of stamina and passion, and the unusual combination of social and surgical talent. Peter was born in Aarhus, 1962, the son of Frank and Ingrid Axelsson. His father was a medical student, and his mother worked for SAS. 1964, the family moved to Greenland, where his father worked at Good Hope Hospital 1964 to 1967, and became interested in surgery, eventually thoracic surgery. When they returned to Denmark, his father devoted himself to thoracic surgery in Aarhus, working with legendary Danish surgeons Tyge Søndergaard and Ole Albrechtsen. He ended up as consultant surgeon in Odense, where he remained until he died in a car accident in Saudi Arabia 1983. In Greenland, Peter's mother had become tired of being housewife and decided to start medical school at the age of 31, eventually to become an ophthalmologist. Peter went to school in Aarhus and Odense and spent 1 year as exchange student at Patrick Henry High School in San Diego before he began medical school in 1982 in Copenhagen. During medical school, he traveled backpacking to China and New Zealand. In New Zealand, he visited Princess Margaret Hospital in Christchurch to spend time at the Department of Thoracic Surgery. After graduation in 1990, Peter did general surgery at smaller hospitals in Sønderborg and Vejle. In Vejle, he was exposed to general thoracic surgery as well. After a summer sailing with friends on this large yacht from Los Angeles to Alaska, he returned to Copenhagen, determined to pursue thoracic surgery. Peter came to me at Rikshospitalet asking for a job, and I hired him as junior resident in the fall of 1993. I believe it was this very special case that became his main inspiration to become general thoracic surgeons. I still dream about this case. After a tracheal resection for adenoid cystic cancer, the patient was left with a mediastinal tracheostoma. I knew the trachea was probably too short. One early evening, as I made rounds, she started bleeding from the stoma, and there I stood with my finger in the aorta. On the way down to the operating room, we had to design a rescue procedure. We realized that the trachea had eroded into the aorta at the base of the innominate artery. With digital control of the bleeding, we opened her up and got her on cardiopulmonary bypass. We resected a segment of the aorta and the base of the innominate artery, transferred the innominate artery to the left carotid artery, did an ascending to abdominal aorta conduit, and did a new mediastinal stoma after resecting more chest wall and pulling carina up to the skin and interpositioning and surrounding the surgical area with momentum. This patient lived another 13 more years, and Peter wrote a nice paper about the case and initiated a nationwide study about tracheal cancer in Denmark. Peter's thoracic surgery career wasn't straight. When he fell in love with a young woman from Odense and she became pregnant, it fell apart. Peter believed that being a surgeon was not compatible with being a modern father. He moved back to Odense and gave up his surgical career. He married Dorte Licht in 1995 and took her name out of love and devotion and the opportunity to get a new name, avoiding the constant questions if he was the son of Frank Axelsen. Here is my wife and Donald Ross. I made my career by following my passions, and eventually Peter had to do the same. After 3 years of clinical physiology and nuclear medicine, he had to admit to himself that he would be a better father being a busy and happy surgeon. He restarted his surgical residency in 1998, but had to go to Aarhus for his cardiothoracic surgery training. There was no position for him in Odense. My friend Per Virup has told me about his very first case with Peter. Dr. Virup got a call from Peter by midnight that the patient who had had lobectomy during the day was bleeding. Patient had history of previous coronary artery bypass. Dr. Virup told him, "I'm on my way, take the patient back to the operating room and get ready." When Dr. Virup arrived some 15 minutes later, the patient was already in the operating room. The left chest reopened and extended across the sternum over to the right, and the bleeding controlled. The patient crashed on the way to the operating room, so I had to fix it. The marriage and the family survived the shift to surgery, and the family continued to grow. In this wonderful picture from 1998 are their first three children. Dorte and Peter went on to have 4 children, August, Valdemar, Dagmar, and Christian. In 2002, Peter became thoracic surgery staff surgeon in Odense and was promoted to consultant in 2004 and to professor in general thoracic surgery in 2010, the first general thoracic surgery professor position in Denmark for 25 years. Peter was equally devoted to his job as to his family. Clinically, he promoted minimally invasive thoracic surgery and took the lead in implementing advanced video-assisted thoracic surgery. To learn from the very best in the world, Peter had to travel. He spent time as visiting professor in US with McKenna in Los Angeles, with Serfolio in Birmingham, and Lukowicz in Pittsburgh, and he took several trips to China to see the most advanced minimally invasive thoracic procedure. Peter has emphasized how important these learning trips to China were, how impressed he was, and how much he learned. For Peter, teaching is a passion. For 10 years, Peter has run clinical courses in VATS lobectomy, and he has been involved in teaching experimental VATS lobectomy at the European Institute in Hamburg, and he has set up independent VATS lobectomy courses under the umbrella of European Association of Thoracic Surgery in Berlin, and he has proctored many VATS surgeons in Europe. Traditionally only the third largest program in Denmark, Odense University Hospital now runs the largest general thoracic surgery program in Denmark. Peter has also focused on clinical research and has been able to set up multi-center randomized clinical trials. A randomized trial comparing thoracotomy and VATS for early-stage lung cancer was published in Lancet Oncology in 2016. Peter refers to this study as the first real VATS trial. Peter has also found time to travel the world with his family. Here in Costa Rica in 2003, in Borneo in 2010, Himalaya in 2014, and Guadeloupe in 2018. It is obvious to us that Peter is a builder. He is always looking forward. The last 2 years he has spent many weekends building a family beach house that overlooks the sea. Peter is a family man with the ability to make us all feel like we are part of his family. He is as good a role model for his children as he is for his surgical colleagues. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to introduce to you a true leader for the 21st century, my friend and our President, Peter Licht.
Members and guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a tremendous honor for me to serve as president of our association during the past year. I was overwhelmed when nominated and believe that many dedicated thoracic surgeons affiliated with EACTS over the years might as well have been given this great honor. I'm only humbly aware that anything I achieved during my 8 years with EACTS is mainly because of theirs and others' hard work. I wish to thank so many for their help and support. I wish to thank our past presidents, our council, and in particular, I wish to thank our Secretary General Domenico Pagano, who's right here in the middle when we first met years ago. Domenico not only helped me from the beginning, he also paved the way during my presidency with his remarkable energy and dedication to improve our association. Here we are among past presidents and great friends at one of the recent program meetings. Domenico's interest and talent for corporate management has been a driving force behind substantial changes in the governance of our association during the past year. Changes that were necessary to fulfill the highest standards for running a charity organization. Changes that will benefit our members for many years to come. Our association is in better shape than ever. I also sincerely want to thank the staff in our Windsor office for their everlasting support, and I owe many thanks to my colleagues in the general thoracic domain, colleagues who over the years shared my passion to improve the educational opportunities for thoracic surgeons in Europe. And I'll never forget our program committee meetings every spring in magnificent venues around Paris. I'm particularly thankful to past council member Pala Rajesh from Birmingham for his everlasting support throughout my time with EACTS. His dedication to elevate the standards of our profession is outstanding, and we should be grateful to him and Tim Graham for their efforts to bring the European board exam in cardiothoracic surgery to the highest standards. Pala introduced me to this important work and guided me with inspiration when we examined together and later developed the thoracic curriculum. I also sincerely want to thank my mentors during my clinical training. I can't mention all, but 3 stand out, namely Gösta Pettersson, who was my chief in cardiothoracic surgery when I was a young resident in Copenhagen in the early 90s, and a great inspiration for me to pursue a career in cardiothoracic surgery. Gösta is here with Danish colleagues taking a rest in an art installation during the 2000 EACTS annual meeting in Frankfurt. I later subspecialized in general thoracic surgery, and I'm deeply indebted to my 2 foremost members in thoracic surgery, Lars Ladegaard from Odense and Hans Pilegaard from Aarhus. Thank you both for invaluable support and for teaching me surgery at the highest level. We've shared many great moments together during the last 3 decades. One was representing Denmark in the indoor soccer competition during the 2004 EACTS annual meeting in Leipzig. Holding the trophy is a cheat. We were defeated by all other teams, but we were surely the best-dressed team. I always wished to do a clinical fellowship overseas, but I missed that opportunity for personal reasons. I did, however, spend shorter periods with many of the most prominent surgeons in our specialty to learn minimal invasive thoracic surgery. I particularly want to thank Rob McKenna from Los Angeles, Rob Safolio, who was in Birmingham at that time, Jinin Jiang and his fantastic team in Shanghai, and Diego Gonzalez Rivas from Coruña in Spain. Our department has since implemented many of their techniques, and we continue to share them with colleagues from Europe who come to us for a clinical fellowship or who come and join our clinical VET seminars. This is a great shot from our team when we visited Diego and his team to study non-intubated VETs. I'm also deeply indebted to my colleagues at home. They are the reason for the continuing success of our department, and it's their efforts that allowed me to spend so much time away serving EACTS. First and foremost, however, I want to thank my family, my parents who gave me all the love I needed and fully supported my decision to follow in their footsteps. They taught me that it mostly takes dedication and a lot of hard work to achieve your highest ambitions. Most of all, I'm immensely grateful to my wife for 25 years' daughter, who, in addition to her full-time job as a general medical practitioner, raised our 4 wonderful children almost single-handedly while I worked at the hospital or traveled to so many scientific meetings. Daughter, with all my heart, thank you for your love and support, for all the debates, and for being the most wonderful girl on the planet. These are difficult times, and I believe I would miss the point if this year's presidential address didn't take off in the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, which has become a major global crisis. Millions of people have been confirmed with this dreadful disease, and so far close to 1 million have died from it. In some parts of the world, the situation is still not under control. In other parts, they've successfully managed to implement strategies that flatten the epidemic curve, which simply means that the overall number of cases will not be reduced, but merely spread over a longer period of time. Therefore, this pandemic will likely be with us for a long time while we all hope for an effective vaccine. We must therefore find new ways to manage our lives during this difficult period, new ways to meet and share the latest research of our specialty. According to Darwin, it's not the most intellectual or the strongest of the species that survives. Instead, the species that survives are the ones that are best able to adapt and adjust to the changing environment. During preparation of this year's annual meeting, EACTS made a difficult yet necessary decision to transition the usual in-person annual meeting into a virtual one. It poses a challenge for everybody, but we had to adapt to the challenges of this pandemic. Instead of canceling our meeting, EACTS adapted by switching to a virtual platform that has never been used before during a major cardiothoracic meeting. Sadly, we missed the opportunity for social interaction, and many of us regret that we cannot be together in person in Barcelona today. Social interaction is an important part of our annual meeting that should not be underestimated. It strengthens our professional relations and friendships and develop new ones. And social interaction facilitates collaboration and exchange of new ideas. We must find new ways to build and preserve these personal relationships until we can all again meet in person. The pandemic has disrupted the world as we knew it, and it will never be exactly the same again. We're in the middle of a global recession, and millions have lost their jobs because economic structures collapsed when countries locked down. The crisis has placed an enormous burden on our healthcare systems, and I'm proud to see the professionalism and dedication of so many EACTS members who provide selfless and tireless support of patients with coronavirus. Personal sacrifices have been made, and health professionals all over the world have, despite the best efforts to protect themselves, become infected with the virus. Sadly, we've also learned that thousands of health professionals have paid the ultimate price and lost their lives while fighting for their patients. I would like to express my sincere respect to all health professionals who are treating patients with this disease or who are involved in research and development of potential new treatments. The pandemic is ongoing, but at some point we will begin to resume our normal lives again. And we will recognize that this pandemic crisis also provided opportunities that will help us in the future. In 1959, President Kennedy gave a talk where he described how the Chinese used two characters or two brushstrokes to write the word crisis. One brushstroke stands for danger, the other for opportunity. Although the exact translation of the last brushstroke has since been questioned, it serves to illustrate that a crisis not only consists of danger, but also opportunities that are at least as relevant. Opportunities emerge from all crises. The fact that we have a virtual meeting today is such an opportunity. As much as we miss being together, virtual participation allows colleagues from far distances to attend our meeting. Colleagues who might not have been able to travel to Barcelona, particularly younger colleagues who often lack financial resources. This pandemic provided an opportunity to accelerate adoption of virtual technologies and new methods of communicating, and I expect that even after the pandemic is over, virtual participation will continue as a supplement to in-person meetings. That will benefit cardiothoracic surgeons all over the world. Other emerging opportunities that are relevant to our specialty and our cardiothoracic patients include smoking cessation. For decades, we've known the dangers of smoking, and one may speculate how commercials such as these could ever appear. Smoking is the leading cause of preventable death in the world, and a cause of several million deaths every year. During the pandemic, we learned that smokers who became infected with the coronavirus were more likely to get seriously ill, end up in a ventilator, and potentially die. When this information spread in the media, millions stopped smoking. In the UK alone, more than 1 million smokers quit, and that will have a profound effect on their health for years to come and hopefully inspire others to quit. Another emerging opportunity is reduction in air pollution, which poses a major threat to our health. In 2019, the WHO proclaimed air pollution as one of the 10 most important threats to global health. A recent study indicated that global excess mortality from all ambient air pollution is more than 8 million per year, which is a factor 2 higher than earlier estimates, and largely a result of increased mortality from cardiopulmonary disease. During the pandemic, the skies over many of the worst polluted cities in the world cleared up and bird life returned. Satellite images from NASA showed a marked decline in air pollution when societies locked down. Let these moments be an opportunity to reflect and fuel political pressure for a more permanent reduction in air pollution. That would benefit so many of our cardiothoracic patients. The WHO also proclaimed vaccine skepticism as one of the 10 most important threats to global health. We know that vaccines cause a decrease in epidemics and that vaccination may eradicate disease, but we know very little about the effect of an epidemic on vaccination adherence. It seems fundamentally logical that during an epidemic where we are threatened by a contagious disease, that we will do everything possible to be protected from this or other contagious diseases. It's an emerging opportunity with the massive media coverage that a vaccine is the solution to this pandemic, that it will also increase adherence to vaccination in general. During this pandemic, the general population have adapted to fundamental changes in their daily lives when social distancing became the new norm. Education was suddenly delivered online instead of in a classroom. Office workers began to work from home, and the healthcare system underwent a digital revolution at a pace we've never seen before. Long-standing political debates about a need for innovation in the healthcare system was suddenly replaced by action and renewal, and telemedicine, teleconferencing, and video communication became readily available in many parts of the world. Resistance to change and hesitation to adopt new technologies were replaced by openness and flexibility. Video communication allows us to connect with our patients for quick and safe advice, and one may speculate why we were hesitating to use this opportunity before. Certainly, much of what we do require patients to be physically present in our hospital, but it's not always necessary. And if it isn't, we place a burden on our patients when we require them to come to our consultations. We should remind ourselves that there are important socioeconomic aspects for our patients and their families when they take time off work and transport themselves over long distances for consultations that could have been done digitally. Video consultation also provides an opportunity for expert advice in remote areas where there may not be any experts or specialists. It prevents the spread of illness and it allows for treatment of fragile patients in their homes. We should embrace this technology that's been around for years but not widely accepted until now. An absolutely crucial element for the successful implementation of these new technologies were a good dialogue and collaboration between stakeholders. During the pandemic, we learned that when we meet each other with confidence and solution-oriented attitude, we can make important changes in a short period if we recognize a need. After the pandemic is over, we should all remember this spirit of collaboration. It's been 14 years since the European Society of Thoracic Surgeons and EACTS, the two major societies for thoracic surgeons in Europe, last held a joint annual meeting. Those days were great opportunities to meet, share our science and passion, and exchange new ideas. But a conflict developed that has since separated thoracic surgeons in Europe. A new generation of leaders, however, are gradually playing a role, and the old conflict remains obscure to many of us. We increasingly recognize that collaboration between our two societies is essential to improve thoracic surgery in Europe. I was therefore very pleased when leaders from ESTS and EACTS earlier this year met in London and agreed to work for improved collaboration. A joint guideline committee was agreed, aiming to generate future joint European thoracic guidelines that will be published in the official journal of both societies, the European Journal of Cardiothoracic Surgery. We should celebrate this turning point and continue to explore possibilities to collaborate. It's not an illusion that if we meet each other with the spirit of openness, acceptance, and readiness to change that we've seen during the pandemic, that we can again build a strong bridge between thoracic surgeons in Europe. By working together, we can improve educational opportunities for the next generation of surgeons so that they eventually become better than we are. It's our professional and moral obligation to transfer our knowledge and skills to the next generation. Our patients expect that from us, and I usually remind colleagues that it's also in our own interest because the next generation of surgeons may one day be taking care of us or our families. So let us continue to explore possibilities of delivering more and better joint educational opportunities, joint courses and webinars, and let us continue to discuss ways to credential thoracic surgeons in Europe with just one joint European board exam in thoracic surgery. And while we're at it, we should also collaborate to improve the evidence behind our specialty. For years, the level of evidence has been poor in many surgical specialties. In 1996, the editor of The Lancet, Horton, compared surgical research with a comic opera and emphasized that although surgeons have many questions, they provide few answers. He looked through the first issue of 9 major surgical journals and found that the majority of published manuscripts were simple case series. Only 8% of original research papers reported data from clinical trials. Case series are without a doubt an important contribution to surgical research, but Horton questioned whether we can trust this study method to yield valid results. The answer is no. Although many landmark surgical innovations have been reported for the first time as a case report or small case series, these initial studies do not demonstrate clear evidence of efficacy. And as we will be increasingly required to demonstrate and document the safety and effectiveness of our surgical treatments, the best way to provide that evidence are randomized trials that are at the peak of the evidence tree. Randomized trials, however, are rare in cardiothoracic surgery, and unfortunately, even when they're completed, many are by virtue of design, sample size, and insufficient power incapable of answering the questions that researchers aim to address. I looked at the methodology used in general thoracic papers as it appeared in the 3 highest-ranking journals in cardiothoracic surgery. During the first 3 months issued from each journal 10 years after the publication of the Lancet editorial, Only 5% of original thoracic papers reported data from a clinical trial. And apart from one study that reported secondary outcomes from a previously reported large clinical trial, most of them were small in numbers. Another 10 years after the Lancet editorial, things had not improved. And in this month's issue of all three journals, there wasn't a single clinical trial. So the majority of thoracic research continued to be non-randomized, non-controlled, which Horton in his Lancet editorial was concerned about, because they are the weakest scientific evidence and may be regarded hopelessly invalid because of uncontrolled bias. I recognize that many topics will never be subjected to a clinical trial for ethical reasons, and that surgical research has inherent limitations compared with medical research. Valid conclusions can only be achieved if the intervention of a study is standardized, and that is rare in surgery because skills and expertise vary between surgeons. It's much easier when a drug is investigated because the drug is the same every time, and blinding is trivial when you use placebo drugs, but almost impossible in surgery, where it may be either unacceptable or not to operate or unethical to perform a sham operation. Sham operations have been used in our specialty, as shown in this 1959 New England Journal paper, where half the patients had their internal mammary artery ligated for angina and the other half received a skin incision only. A similar trial with sham surgery was published the year after, and that led to a paper in JAMA concluding that surgery does have a placebo effect, and that surgeons therefore must test procedures to eliminate the effect of bias in their conclusions. This paper went even further and questioned the moral or ethical right to continue with casual or unplanned new surgical procedures. It is therefore only fair to remind ourselves that when a new operation or an intervention is presented, which claims to produce the same result, we must encourage a clinical trial. It is our professional duty and to advance our specialty away from eminence-based practice towards evidence-based practice. In an attempt to elevate the quality of research in thoracic surgery in Europe, thoracic surgeons should seek advice from trial experts early in the process and ideally make every effort to plan their clinical research as multi-center trials, just as we've seen it in the United States, where large cancer research cooperatives such as the Cancer Leukemia Group have initiated and coordinated clinical trials for more than 60 years. Multi-center trials provide an opportunity to increase the number of patients sufficiently to allow for robust statistical calculations in a shorter time. Multi-center trials prevent repetition, and the result of a multi-center trial permit greater generalizability than single-center studies. And surgical multi-center trials are possible in Europe. During the last decade, we've even seen successful formal trainee research collaboratives in general surgery in the UK. And UK thoracic surgeons from 9 centers recently completed a very important clinical trial in thoracic surgery, the Violet study, which included 498 patients. To retain our academic reputation, thoracic surgeons in Europe should therefore explore new ways to collaborate, not just for educational opportunities, but also for research. Our associations should explore ways to provide the necessary infrastructure to facilitate research networks among thoracic surgeons, platforms where we can recruit more centers and where trialists and experts in epidemiology can advise us how to improve our research. So let the spirit we've witnessed during this pandemic be an opportunity for better collaboration. Let us be inspired by past ES president and great friend Enrique Ruffini, who during a recent STS-initiated webinar on COVID-19, where leaders from all cardiothoracic societies were represented, made a call for more interconnection, collaboration, and integration to fight COVID-19. Let us be inspired by his words and continue to explore opportunities for better collaboration between thoracic surgeons in Europe so that we can elevate the evidence behind our specialty and the educational opportunities for the next generation. If we succeed with this in the post-COVID-19 era, we will have made a substantial improvement for European thoracic surgeons and their patients. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was really inspiring. Thank you, Peter, for the inspiring talk, for the very kind words. I believe that this has caused also a small earthquake in North Spain. I just had a text from Rafa Sadaba about this. So thank you. It's a shame that we can't celebrate your presidential year today in person, but you have been an inspiring colleague and you've supported all the changes that the association is going through for the future. Now, I think it's one of the moments that is very dear to my heart, and it's the moment where we give the prize to our young investigators. I think it's an important time to celebrate the future generations and the contribution that they make to the specialty and their own training. It's particularly important to say that this year, regardless of the circumstances, we've had a very good number of abstract submission, above 1,100, with very good quality abstracts. And I also understand it's been extremely difficult to choose one over others. And therefore, although I give the prize to the following younger colleagues, I want to thank everybody that has submitted and believe that the EACTS will hold a meeting this year, and science and research has not stopped and continues despite the difficulties. So thank you. So the first prize I'd like to award is the Adult Cardiac Young Investigator Award, which goes to a paper called Novel Risk Score for Predicting Recurrence of Atrial Fibrillation after cryo-MACE procedure. And the winner is Dr. Kakuta Takashi. Please. Congratulations,
Thank
Dr.
you, Professor
Takashi.
Hagan. Thank you very much.
So,
I'm Takashi Kakuta from Japan.
Lovely to meet you, and congratulations. We will send you the prize through the post, unfortunately. Normally, I'll be able to hand you over. So thank you for submitting, and happy celebrations.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to receive this Young Investigator Award. I am deeply grateful to the EACTS committee and all staffs for conducting this virtual meeting under the severe situation with COVID-19. And I greatly appreciate for the support of my colleague and my boss. I especially thank Professor Fujita, who is the Director of Cardiovascular Surgery in our center. I have been interested in MACE procedure since I was a resident, and I have been studied about MACE procedure for several years. In this study, we developed the risk score model for predicting the recurrence of atrial fibrillation after the MACE procedure. I'm so happy this risk model could be helpful for patients with atrial fibrillation all over the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now we have the Hans Post Award, which goes to a paper entitled Diameter Change of Completely Remodeled Proximal Descending Aorta After Acute Type 1 Dissection Repair. And the winner is Dr. John Kuhl Jung. Can we have Dr. Jung coming in? Hello, congratulations. Well done. You win one of the most prestigious awards for EACTS from a past president. How do you feel about it?
Thank you very much.
Do you want to say anything to your colleagues or to us?
Yes, it's my honor to receive such a great award. Above all, I would like to thank Professor Park, who has always been a great mentor to me. And I really think that this award should have been given to him, not to me. And I would like to appreciate my wife and family who have supported me to continue my efforts to become a cardiovascular surgeon. And I also thank my beloved professors and colleagues who work every day with me. I will consider this award as an encouragement, and I will do my best in my position. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. So The next is the joint EACTS STS award. How we global and we collaborate with people and other institutions. So this prize was awarded to a paper called Experimental Near-Infrared Spectroscopy Guided Minimally Invasive Segmental Arterial Occlusion. And the winner is Dr. Konstantin von Aspen. Can we have Dr. von Aspen, please? Hello, congratulations. Well done. How do you feel winning a prize from two organizations?
I'm very honored, and thank you very much. It's a great honor. I'm very, very happy. And just quickly,
where are you calling us from?
Excuse me?
Where are you calling us from at the moment?
From Leipzig, actually from the clinic. So
okay, so you're working today.
Yeah, but I got a little bit time off. My boss is supporting me, so it's fine.
Your boss should give you the day off to celebrate now.
Yeah, he will eventually. But I'm very, very grateful. Thank you. And I'd like to thank Professor EACTS and Professor Borger and the entire Leipzig research team for this great team effort. And of course, the association. And I'm very optimistic for the future. So thanks again.
Thank you very much indeed. Have a good day celebrating.
Yes.
So the next is a Thoracic Surgical Prize, which is Thoracic Young Investigator Award. Is a wide resection margin worthwhile in radical resection for single lung metastases, analysis of long-term outcomes of a single center? This name, I'm quite sure I can pronounce properly. Dr. Sara Ricciardi, please. Can we have Dr. Ricciardi in? Hello, Dr. Ricciardi.
Hello to
Where
everyone.
Are you
Thank you.
Congratulations. Where are you calling us from?
Thank you very much. I'm calling from my hospital in Bologna. So thank you very much. Yes. And I would like to spend a minute to thank all my colleagues from University Hospital of Pisa, where I completed my residency program, and my mentors, Professor Musi, Melfi, and Luki, who inspired and guided me during my study and my work. And finally, I would like to thank my new team and my chief, Dr. Solli of Bologna University Hospital, who are giving me the opportunity to grow and extend my research field. And obviously, I thank the association and the committee for the award. It's a great honor to me. So thank you very much.
Thank you and congratulations. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye now. And finally, the prize for the Congenital Young Investigator Award, which goes to a paper entitled Selective Descending Aortic Perfusion, Improving Safety for Aortic Arch. And the winner is Dr. Rodrigo Sandoval Boburg. Can we have Dr. Sandoval coming, please?
Hello.
Hello. Congratulations. Where are you calling us from today?
Thank you very much. I'm calling from Tübingen, Germany.
Well done. Do you want to say anything to your colleagues or to us about winning this prestigious prize?
Of course. First of all, I would like to thank the committee for making this year's Congress virtually possible and that we're able to be a part of it. It's a great honor to be the recipient of such an honorable prize. And of course, I have to thank my boss and my colleagues who helped with the study regarding aortic arch surgery in neonates, and we will be conducting surely much more research in this topic, since we feel that it's a really important topic. It's that has a lot of potential to improve the safety of these types of surgeries for neonates.
Fantastic, thank you. I wish you well for your future. Please have a nice day off celebrating the important prize. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this concludes the presidential and the award ceremony. I thank everybody for listening, and I look forward to seeing you later throughout the meeting. Enjoy the rest of the meeting. Thank you.